So the first thing I want to share with you is a study we did looking at farrowing induction and its impacts on piglet viability and survival. So we actually did two studies for this project. One was what we called our pilot project, where we performed it at Purdue, a smaller number of animals, and the benefit that provided us was we could take blood samples from newborn piglets and look at the impacts of farrowing induction on blood parameters in newborn piglets. So in that study, we had 58 litters, 3 treatments, control, which was no induction, or 2 different induction protocols. So looking at 2 cc's of Lutalice on day 114, followed by 1 cc of oxytocin 24 hours later, or 2 cc's of Lutalice on day 114, and splitting that oxytocin dose in half. So doing half a cc at 6 hours and half a cc at 12 hours after Lutalice. And then we did a commercial trial follow-up. Our induction protocols were a little bit different when we negotiated through the commercial system, but we used 297 litters at a farm of the Mash-offs, and that study had no induction controls compared to 1 cc of Lutalice on day 115, followed by 1 cc of Lutalice 6 hours later. 1 cc of Lutalice on day 115 with only a quarter cc of oxytocin 6 hours later. Or we also took the sows that had their first dose of Lutalice and farrowed before the 6 hours for one of their other injections. We included them in the analysis as an additional treatment if they farrowed before any of their second shots. So we looked at farrowing parameters as well as subsequent reproductive performance in the commercial trial. So to just look at the pilot study results first, basically we didn't see any differences in stillborns or mummies or the number of animals that needed assistance or whether their cords were broken at birth on the piglets. There was a tendency for a difference in the length of farrowing, where the Oxy-24, so the sows that received oxytocin full dose at 24 hours after Lutalice had a higher or longer farrowing duration. But induction did increase the number of animals that farrowed by day 115. So what we're here for is pre-weaning mortality. We didn't see any difference in pre-weaning mortality or colostrum intake on those piglets. Birth weights did turn out to be a little bit different. This is a small number of litters, and we considered that to be a sort of random effect. And no differences in average daily gain in the piglets. One thing we did notice is we took colostrum samples from the sows while they were farrowing, and induction did reduce fat content and increase lactose content in the colostrum samples. And so as a sow transitions from colostrum to whole milk, usually her fat content goes down and lactose goes up. So that's an indicator of a transition from colostrum into whole milk. So I would perceive this as slightly a negative impact of induction, that these sows that were induced were transitioning out of colostrogenesis and into whole milk production earlier. Those blood samples we took on the piglets, we found indications of hypoxic events in every single treatment. Some of the treatments had different indicators of hypoxic events, but pretty much all piglets, some piglets in every treatment are having some sort of oxygen deprivation during the birthing process, and there was no significant difference in any of those among the treatments. But some things we did notice is that piglets that are born later in the birthing order all tended to have more hypoxic indicators, so they had more stress during the birthing process. And piglets born to older sows also had more indicators of hypoxia. When we looked at the commercial trial results, we did not have the blood sampling and that on the piglets, but induction really had no effect on the duration of farrowing, number born alive, total born, stillborns, mummies, litter weights, mortality, average daily gain, wean to service, and subsequent reproductive performance was also not impacted at all by farrowing induction. The few things that we did find were that farrowing induction increased the likelihood of farrowing on day 115. It did increase piglets that were requiring assistance when Lutalice was used alone without either of the oxytocin treatments. Lutalice alone, when they didn't get their second shot, or the Lutalice at hours of the 2 shots of Lutalice did increase the percentage of piglets that were born with broken umbilical cords. And all of those induction treatments, again, had about a 1% lower colostral fat. We weren't able to measure lactose in that study, but we could kind of anticipate that they were reducing their colostral fat in terms of switching over to lactose production as well. So maybe the same impacts there on colostrogenesis. Just to give some acknowledgments here, we had several graduate students working on these different projects, as well as a team at the MASH-offs that were helping us as well. And as they've stated earlier, it takes lots of undergraduates to catch every piglet at birth and take their blood and do all of these things. So a tremendous number of undergraduate students that help with these projects as well.